Oh no, I haven't.
Okay, we're live now, so if you want to share it while we're starting. Welcome, everyone. This is the behind the scenes episode of 48 Hour Art Check, where we forget to do half the stuff we're supposed to do before we go live. Just kidding. 48 Hour Art Check, we're back. And Josh, you don't look like you're sick and vomiting, so welcome back to health.
Yeah, it's been a fun week of just literal fires and then getting sick. So
Yeah. Is that related? Like, do you think the air quality is causing stuff, or?
It's possible. On my way home, like on Thursday, I was stuck kind of like right by if you look it up or whatever online, it's called the Tick Fire, but it was Santa Clarita. Like a lot of homes were like burnt, and they evacuated like 40,000 people. And I was on the 14, like right before it got closed. And so while I'm on the freeway, there's like fire helicopters and stuff. Literally, like I could have thrown a stone and hit one. I mean, they're that close to my car, just going to put out this fire. So there's a lot of smoke, like a massive amount of smoke. But I feel like I don't have much to complain about because, like, just thankful my wife and I didn't buy property there in Santa Clarita, because we looked when we were looking in this area in Santa Clarita, because those were the two commutable areas, and it just looks so pretty. But but I mean, if you, at least 2017 and then this year, it does not seem like a good time to live in that area. So I feel bad for the people there, but yeah,
I've got a buddy there who was evacuated. Luckily, he got him and his pets and kids and wife out. So
it's good, and he's probably okay at this point, because I think the fire is like 75% contained. So now it's just moved. There's a different fire by the Getty, and that's affecting a bunch of LA 405 traffic and stuff on the other side. So it's just California right now.
Yeah.
That wind didn't help. I know, like it was like wind that day where you guys had where the wind was just wreaking all the havoc, and it was so bad. We had that heavy wind here, and like all the, not that it's anything compared to what people are dealing with in California, but all the like styrofoam tombstones and stuff I put out in my yard, it blew every single one of them down.
Oh yeah.
They were all gone. I mean, everything I put up like last week was just totally torn down. I probably have like 20 or 30 tombstones in my yard.
Wow. My whole street is full of, like, a lot of people have like ghosts and stuff hanging from their trees, and that day it's just like the ghosts are just like just pulling the trees. Like, it was very very interesting. But yeah, that wind is nuts. It's I think they said something like when the fire in Santa Clarita got going, it went like the length of a football field in like a minute.
Wow.
Because the winds were like 40 to 60 miles an hour or something. So yeah. Luckily, Corey, you're not in this area, because on a bike that would be a nightmare.
Oh yeah, no, I've done that before, and it's no fun. I rode across the Columbia Gorge during a microburst, and it was kind of nuts.
Yeah, because there's no blocking the wind in that area. I mean, that's just pure wind. Wow.
Yeah, and I was just it was crazy. But yeah, it was just straight up like I was riding at a 45-degree angle just to stay straight.
So, I can see that.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. But anyway.
Well, anyhow, I feel better and feel glad to be back. So yeah.
Well, good. I'm glad you're back.
Yeah, how'd it go? How was your guys' week? What all did you get done?
I could talk about that during the check mainly, but
okay.
Yeah, most of my stuff was fairly productive.
Nice.
So, yeah. So you want to do that?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Josh, let's start with you. What have you gotten done in the last little bit?
So I'm gonna show a silly project that. Hang on, I was showing you guys earlier, but I'm still gonna show it because it's art related. I do music. So this was a Squier Telecaster standard. It had like a humbucker, like a Les Paul humbucker, and then like a standard Squier bridge pickup. And I ended up installing a little mini humbucker and then a P90, and then replacing the pick guard with this like nice pearl because it was just flat white before. Redid the wiring, like went with the whole pearl theme and did the knobs different and like all the wiring in here and switch. And it has like this nice little component where if I pop that up, it'll go to a single coil pickup. And then it's just humbuckers. And then installed locking tuners. So for anyone, and rolling tree saddles. So now I've restrung it and done all the work and tested the pickup with the quick pickup test to see if you did wiring right is like you plug it into your amp, turn the volume very low, and then you just tap it with a screwdriver. Because the metal, if when the metal's hitting the magnet that's in this, it makes a little tick. That means it's working. So far, works like that. Like if I, have it down here on bridge, tap here, it makes a noise. Tap here, it doesn't make noise. Have it on both, tap both, they make noise. If I put it up to the top pickup, that's the only one that when I tap, noise goes through. So I feel like I must have done it okay. So one step further in that little weird refurb project that I had on my guitar. I was thinking about repainting it, but I think it looks pretty with this thing. So I'll feel pretty awesome playing this if it plays well. So we'll see if that fixes some of the sound issues on this thing.
Yeah, that's way cool.
In theory, it should make it sound more like a Fender. Because one of the weak points of this was like, even though it was wax potted, it was like there was a humbucker up here that just was not really getting a lot of volume and kind of was way too on the low end. So this should kind of punch it up a little bit. So we'll see. Fun side project. First time I've done that. Anyhow, that has little to do with art, but everything to do with art because music is part of that whole art thing.
Yeah.
And then I also got this done. So let me throw this on there. So I'm getting through this crowd scene at the top, and I've just been taking my time with it. It's rough pencils, so there are some weird anatomy. Even for wonky anatomy on these pages, I'm still going to have to correct some of it and work out some more of the seating in it. But I'm pretty close to done with the pencils on this, so I'm imagining finishing that today. And other than that, just we were hiring at my work, so we've been interviewing a lot of candidates, and I found a candidate, so that's good. And then other than that, just slammed working on stuff. But I know it's nerdy, but the guitar thing, I'm really excited about it because, like I said, I love, and this might have something to do with art in general, but I like the idea of taking on a project that's creative, that is a wheelhouse that I know nothing about, and kind of getting in there. And this is one of those things where if I read about it, I wouldn't learn anything.
Right.
But by kind of diving in, and then like when you dive in, you know what to look for and what questions to ask, and you figure it out pretty quickly, so it's fun. And I'm one of those guys, I'm not even competent at like drilling a hole. So the fact that I managed to drill a bunch of holes and not split like this wood, which would be a very expensive mistake, made me really excited.
Yeah.
So
that's way cool.
Anyhow, what did you get done?
I'm gonna go really quickly because my wife is on the freeway with black ice. So let's have Scott go. I'm gonna step off screen for just a second.
Okay.
100%.
let me get in the camera here. So let's see. What did I do? I guess it wasn't 48 hours ago. It was on Saturday. I did sort of a comic event. It was a Halloween Comic Fest, but one thing that I did do yesterday is I did a kind of a recap video of that. So if you're curious how that all went, and you can see some of the comics, and I got some free comics and stuff, and I showed some of that stuff off. So I did that video. Let's hold on one second. So I've been working on Inktober. I've been taking all of my Inktober drawings and scanning them in, which took a long time. I scan them in, and then I like stitching them together because I want to do a video, because I don't know if you guys know, but I've got them right here. Like this is the stack so far. And they all kind of go end to end. So I'm going to I'm stitching all those together, and then I want to do a video of it, just the whole thing like scrolling. So I was working on that.
Scott, sorry to butt in, but have you thought about like maybe making like a limited edition set of prints that go?
I've thought a lot about that. That's the original idea. What I would like to do is have something that if I could print it and have everything fold into one thing, and then, I mean, I don't know how you would display it because it's just huge and it's vertical.
Yeah.
So I mean, maybe it was horizontal. You could put it across a wall, but nobody's got walls that long. So I don't know how you would display it really.
If you Adobe sent a thing out probably 10 years ago that was like that, and the folds were perforated.
Right. Okay.
Which would work with what you're doing, because then if they choose, they can pick a section and tear it, and then they could have it like that, or
like an accordion book or something.
It was an accordion book, and then it was perforated folds so that you could tear things out.
Ooh. Yeah, and I don't even know, is there a limit to the length of paper you can print on? I just don't.
It depends on the paper.
Yeah.
But some paper stock does come on rolls.
Yeah.
That's true. You could like give Catprint a call and just.
I don't think Catprint could do this. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Cat. I could, but I'm a huge fan of Catprint. But I don't know that.
I'll give you a printer off the air that'll. If they can't do it, they'll get it done.
Okay.
I do everything for them, and they have kind of a network that if they can't do it in the local shop, then like one of their sister print shops will be able to figure it out.
Okay, cool.
Thinking about it too, the only other thing I could think would be if you have that screen print set up, you could like literally screen it and match the screens, which would be a nightmare.
I don't know. I think what I might want to do with the screen print one is I might want to go back to some of my blueprints and screen print those. This one, because it's black and white, I could probably just go a traditional, just black. There'd be a lot of ink, but I don't think people charge for ink. I think it's just, if it's black and white, it's black and white, right?
Yep.
I mean, if it's, because they would be basically printing in sort of reverse. They would be printing the black instead of printing the white. So
I like any of them. I'm sorry to derail you. I think that making it a product of some sort might actually.
Yeah, I want to, and then now that I'm getting towards the end, I'm like, how much is it going to cost to do? Is anyone going to want it? I could do one of those. I could maybe try to run one of those quick starters or whatever you call them, where it's like, those real short Kickstarters that are just like for just kind of a simple type product, and see what happens. I don't know. I'd like to do something with it.
Maybe a postcard set where all the postcards line up and match. So you can get postcard frames for pretty cheap. So if somebody really wanted to, in theory, they could, line their walls with it. But
yeah, and the thing is, I mean, they are sketches, so they're not like perfect, but I think as a whole, I think it's impressive as a whole. I know the individual pieces, there might be some that people really like, but it's not like, I didn't spend a lot of time with like anatomy and like stuff like that. So, but I think when you take take everything and put it together. I think it's kind of impressive, but separately, I don't know. I mean, some people might, I don't know. And of course I'm a little close to it because it's my project. So other people might not, might really like individual pieces. I'm not sure.
Huh.
So other than that, Sunday morning I did a stream on Teresa Del Pilar's channel with Marshall and Russ and Mike Emirates. So that was kind of cool. I did that. You can check that on Teresa Del Pilar's channel.
Awesome.
And what else? I don't know. Yeah, that's all I can think of right now. I mean, I did a bunch of other stuff, but yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Love it.
I've had a very non-traditional thing. So here's my family, and so we had kind of some Halloween stuff going on, and I made everybody's costume. So that took a bit because like I made that fez that Scarlett's wearing. It's like my hand sewed.
Wow.
That, and then like we made Maddox's beard and his hat, and then Leah's sweater, and then I had most of my outfit laying around, but like the beard is like individually tied knots and unraveled yarn. And
no way.
And so anyway, and it was all kind of like, I didn't have a pattern for anything. So I was kind of just going kind of off the cuff there. So I think it turned out pretty well for not knowing how to do any of that. But the hat's like way too tall. Do you guys recognize that? Have either of you guys watched Gravity Falls?
Yeah, I've seen it. I'm familiar enough with it that I get some of the references.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't really seen it, but I looked it up after seeing the pictures on Facebook and was like, those are good. Those are good costumes.
Yeah, so that was pretty fun. I like doing that. And the other thing I've been working on is this. So this is kind of a mouse that I'm working on animating, and I've got him so that like I've been watching a lot of videos of mice to try to figure out. And so you see like at the beginning, the shadow kind of goes back and forth. Like they breathe like super rapidly, and their whole torso kind of expands. And then anyway, each one of these controls like a different part of it. So like I can make him kind of like get like smile lines in his eyes. I can make him be like kind of tired. And so I can kind of control that. I can come over here and I can bend his ears down. I can bend them up if it'll do it. And so like each one of these controls like a different part of the mouse. And then like arms, so I can like move his arms around. So anyway, it's been kind of fun to do that. This is still going off of a bunch of the stuff that I learned working with Scott on that project. And then the tail is rigged as well, and so that's like a rubber hose. This is all joysticks and sliders. And I'm animating like shape paths, like I'm tweening the paths of shape layers, which is kind of complicated, but I've actually only got 4 or 5 hours into this, and it's already like I'd say about 95% rigged. Maybe I got another couple, another little bit kind of in there to rig that up. So this is After Effects, but it's After Effects modded. So if you look over here, I've got this thing called Joysticks and Sliders. That's one plugin that I use. It's about $45. Rubber Hose is another plugin that I use, and that's how I did the tail. And then the third thing that I use is a thing called Overlord. It's down here. And so Overlord, I'm not sharing my screen, I'm just sharing this application, but Overlord will push and pull vector paths to and from Illustrator. And so you can edit everything in Illustrator and then push it to a shape layer in After Effects, and then you can make something in After Effects and then push it to a layer in Illustrator and edit it and then pull it back into After Effects, because After Effects vector controls are terrible. like they're clunky and they don't work right. And I'm really fast in Illustrator, so I'll just make something really quickly in Illustrator, and then I can kind of pull it in, and then I can use joysticks and sliders to rig it and give it these little like controls. And then I use rubber hose to do stuff like the tail where it moves around. So anyway, I'm getting faster at stuff like this, which is kind of cool. So
that's and I think even like classier with it. Like the first iterations of this were good, and I wouldn't have even known they were clunky in comparison to where you're at now with it, which is crazy because it looked so slick when you first did it that I was like, I have no idea how you're doing this with After Effects, because a lot of it looks like the kind of rigging you do in full out 3D, or like it's very deceptive and in a good way. And but the quality you're getting like with the rigging, it just continually gets better. It's really, really amazing. It's cool to see what you can do.
Yeah, it's been fun. It's been fun. I'm glad you're seeing improvement, because for me, it's the improvement I'm seeing is just speed. But I'm glad there's some visible improvement going on as well. So
yeah, it seems like maybe it's just me, but it does seem like everything's moving more slickly and smoothly, and I think I don't know, but that also could just be my take on it.
A big part of animation is, for me at least, is watching watching subjects. And so like I while I was sketching this, I probably watched like an hour of like videos of YouTube, like lab rats and mice running around in fields, and slow it down and try to get like a feel for like how they work. And Disney does this all the time. I don't know that a lot of people know this, but there are some really interesting videos on YouTube where people are showing how Disney does this. Because what they do is they will shoot a full feature film, like in their studio with actors like dancing and doing the parts and everything. Mm-hmm. And then the animators animate from that reference, which is just further proof to me that anybody who says that if you use reference, you're cheating is just like, has no idea what's going on.
No, totally. Like, I mean, there's straight up like old, there was this book I had as a kid. I think it was called like The Joy of Disney or something. And it went in, it gave like actual keyframes of their reference photos and had them side by side with still frames from Snow White. And it's like crazy because like a lot of Snow White was just an actress walking in front of like not a green screen at the time. It was just like a piece of paper, but walking and doing all the movements. And then the animators would mimic it and just exaggerate the pose a little bit. But it was pretty dead on to the reference. Yeah.
And I've even seen clips where they'll recycle like those scenes that they film. Like I've seen one, I think it was the bear from like Little John from Robin Hood, and then Baloo doing like a dance, and it's the exact same dance. And I've seen like
Robin Hood did a lot of recycling, man.
Like I've seen 4 or 5 of those where it's the exact same motion and everything, just different characters.
Mm-hmm. Rescuers Down Under did a lot of that. But yeah, it's funny. Robin Hood was like, if you look at like, half the character designs are recycled from their films.
Not even just the character design, but also the movement and everything, the dancing and stuff, and like just the animation itself.
I love it.
So so this is what you were talking about before.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got stuff like this. But there's some of these videos like, this is the Tea Party, and they like full on acted out like the whole thing. Anyway, but there's one where they do Hercules. There's the song from Hercules, and it's like, it's amazing how they do that, because they do like the whole song, and then parts of it are like animatic, and parts of it are them like kind of working through things. Like this is Aladdin, and you've got this guy kind of jumping around and doing all the all the same thing, just in like 2x4s that they've just built in the studio. Anyway, I love watching this stuff because you can see like how it all translates. The quality is pretty garbage, but
yeah, I was actually not Disney, but I was back when I was doing children's entertainment, the studio where I filmed my children's show. They had a soundstage, and Fox Animation, who used to be out here, they did what did they do? They did, I think, Titan AE, and they did Anastasia, and I think something else. But they would go in and do that kind of stuff, and even motion capture and stuff like that, and kind of match that.
Yeah, and I think the thing, I mean, people who like are anti-photo reference are usually either using photo reference and not talking about it, or they're drawing terribly. But you know, I'm another thing to also keep in mind is like a good friend of mine from college. Well, at the time at college, we're not really super tight anymore, but we were pretty tight. We were in the same graduating class, and he has worked on like 1 million Disney films since. But part of how he got to work for Disney was when he was off of school, he would go to night sessions at Art Center and just sit in. Mm-hmm. Even though he was enrolled at Cal State Long Beach, he'd just drive over there. And then also he got in with the meetups at the zoos that all the animation students were going to. And this is like something that continues with most Disney animators, where they will just spend a day at the zoo just doing gesture drawings of animals, and like literally sit in front of like zebras moving and just draw zebras, and sit in front of lions and draw lions with actual models, so they're not holding still for you. So they really have to figure out like the mechanics of those animals. And like during the making of like The Lion King, they used to actually bring like live animals to the studio to like draw those animals and figure out like the anatomy and stuff,
right,
the animals. So it's like, it's definitely one of those things of like reference and drawing a lot. Anybody who's like thinking that you just kind of draw straight from your head is, you know, like I said, there's some people who can store information in their head and draw very well from stuff they've stored, but people who invent whole cloth, I haven't really met a lot. There's some styles that lend themselves to that, but yeah, I'm glad you brought that up.
For sure. So, all right. The one I'm showing is one of my favorite ones because it just shows like the side by side. But it's a mixture of like sketching and live action and whatever. And then at the end, and if you watch really closely, you can see what you were saying, Josh, like at the beginning where the actors and actresses and dancers and everybody, they'll be doing stuff, and then the animators exaggerate it. And so like that movement is there, and it's based on like an actual skeletal structure, but then it's exaggerated. And that's what I love about animation is if you're just doing if you're just tracing over the top of something, I think you're missing what like illustration and animation can do. But like if you're doing it without reference at all, you know, you're just kind of missing out completely. So
agreed.
That's interesting because I have the Art of Hercules book, and they don't show any of that, like any of those clips or like stills from the live action stuff. So that's something I hadn't seen before.
Yeah. Yeah. Just look up animatic and side by side, and you see a lot of really interesting stuff like that. There's a lot of hand drawn animatics for like The Last Airbender and stuff like that, where they map out the fight scenes. Anyway, yeah. So
that's amazing. Yep. Good stuff.
Okay. Challenges, Josh.
Oh, hang on. We got a question from Salazar Art Nation. Scott, you did a children's show?
Yes, I did a children's show. You probably won't find it anywhere. At some point, I'll probably at some point I might do like a little like show clips of it and like kind of show some of the concept art and everything. I
Yeah,
thought
I'd love to see that, honestly.
Yeah, I thought about pulling. It's funny because there's, and this is old. It's old. I mean, it's like It was on VHS. So but there's copies of it up in my dad's place, and my son, who's 21, and his friends, they went up and they stayed at my dad's place, and they found it, and they were watching it, and then they came back, and there was just, yeah, I don't know if they were doing ironically or what, because it's made for kids, but they were just saying how great it was, and they were just talking about all the stuff, and they were singing the songs and all that stuff. So I thought that was kind of funny.
They're probably pretty stoked about it. I mean, I think when you're, I don't know, when your parents did something kind of cool, and then you get to like see it later on in life, I think there is like a sincere fascination with that. There's Squatchy also said, awesome video earlier. The Ghost Rider sketch cover was awesome. I've been making good money doing covers lately.
Yeah, that's cool. Awesome. Yeah, and that Ghost Rider sketch, Squatchy, that you saw, the one that you saw, that was one that I haven't finished that one, but I did another one that they raffled off that you haven't seen yet, and that'll be my next video. I'll do a speed draw where you can see that, and it's kind of cool. So, because he gave me 2 copies of that sketch covers, one to they paid me to do one that they could give away, and then the other one they just gave me so I could do it for fun. So I might do that, and then see if I can sell it or keep it or whatever. But
sweet. Cool. All right, so should we jump into challenges?
Yeah. So Josh, challenges.
So I got sick, so that was a challenge. The fires have been a challenge because that's added a lot to my commute time. Although I did take Friday off because I just had no way of getting to work because literally every entrance there was closed. And then I think for me, the biggest challenge as of late that has become apparent to me is just the idea of, like, those posters that got all popular. I think it's Ollie Moss on Threadless that made them popular, but those like Keep Calm and Carry On poster.
Yeah.
That's been my challenge in the last, like, especially at work and stuff like that. Like when you're an art director, you deal with just like constant rushes and then like cleanup. Like if someone's not hitting their deadline or something like that, like you're kind of the pinch hitter in every situation. And there's 2 ways to kind of go about that type of thing. Like when you're under deadline pressure, and not just at work, like I've been doing freelance and stuff like that. It's like when you're under deadline pressure and all the stars aren't aligning, you have kind of 2 options. One is to just kind of analyze the situation and like freak out and like completely become disabled and incapable of really doing anything good. And the other is just to kind of assess the situation and just start moving in a direction like that's a potential solution. And that's been kind of my challenge in the last week that I feel like I've been doing okay at, but it's something that I'm constantly having to like relearn. Just the idea of like staying calm, like kind of focusing on solutions and kind of trying to like override like obstacles that seem kind of impossible,
Cool.
Yeah. But I do feel out of the slump. Like I think the last time we did this, we were all kind of in a slump, and I feel like I'm on an upswing from a relative creative slump.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same. Scott, how about you for challenges?
Challenges. I would say I'm probably out of that slump too, but not to the point where I've really been able to catch up and get to back to all the stuff that I kept putting aside. It's still, like I said today, was just working on the Inktober thing, stitching all that stuff together. So yesterday, just unexpected things, life things. I had a couple of friends and family that were that are in the hospital, so I kind of spent most of my day visiting people in the hospital and stuff like that, but it's unexpected, but to be expected that there's just little life things that happen, that I mean, you just don't, when you schedule out your day, you can't anticipate stuff like that. So, yeah, just stuff like that. But I'm hoping, now that Inktober is coming to a close and everything, that I'll just get back. I'll be able to get back into all this other stuff. So, yeah, that's about it.
Yeah.
Cool.
What about you, Corey?
For me, nothing that really stands out. Nothing really. I mean, like the other day, what is today? Tuesday? Monday?
Yeah, I think it's Monday. I've lost track of days too.
Yeah. So like Friday, I think I was like grading until like 9:30 at night. So just some of those kind of normal time consuming things. Yeah, things are kind of clicking. I'm getting back into the swing of things. Like there's some client work is progressing, so I should be able to knock that out soon. Getting some storyboards and stuff. Nothing really as far as challenges. I mean, other than like I've just been trying to get back into the rhythm out of that slump. So like I just kind of got in my own head and stuff, and so I've been kind of digging out and getting back into creating stuff again and doing that. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. This isn't a challenge per se that has stopped me from anything, but I'm down another few pounds. So I'm like, the exercising I'm up to, I did 2 sets of 12 pull-ups today and a third set of 6. And I'm down to 173 from 186.
Yeah.
So
we're going to meet, Corey. We're going to meet.
Right.
Way.
Yeah, in the middle. That'd be awesome. So anyway, so that's continuing to be good. But I mean, it's a challenge because like I started the intermittent fasting thing in between semesters. And so like at work, it's much different. Just having to kind of like, I'm just used to eating when I'm hungry and I'm always hungry. And now I'm like, I've got a very limited window of time where I'm eating. And if I don't eat during that time, there was one day last week where I just wasn't able to get what I needed calorie wise. And so I got like really dizzy and weak.
Yeah. So you really have to schedule it out. Like,
right. And I'm not much of a scheduler. I'm pretty haphazard with most things that I do.
Yeah.
So yeah, just having to plan ahead and stuff like that. It's been a bit challenging, but yeah, for the most part, I can't really think of too much other than normal family and work and whatever stuff. So
that's awesome.
Awesome.
I'm glad you mentioned the pull-ups because I forgot to mention this, but I can do 2.
Hey, that's awesome.
And I can do 2. Well, like after 2 pull-ups, I can do 2 chin-ups, but I can't do more than 2 pull-ups. But I can, like if I weren't to do the pull-ups, I can do a ton of chin-ups. But that's not really the same beast.
Yeah.
So anyhow, just to put that in perspective, I've been doing reverse for like about a month and a half now to 2 months, and Corey's doing 16, and it's taken me that much conditioning just to do 2. So that is a lot of strength.
I started way ahead of you though, because I was already able to do pull-ups. So,
but I'm just saying that's that does require a lot of especially a lot of upper body and core strength. So that's impressive.
It helps to be really short.
Yeah, I do envy that. Not super tall. I'm just like right at that point of like not super short, but not super tall, where it's annoying.
Yeah.
If there were half the distance, it might do better.
Frank went to the children's hospital on Saturday dressed as his character and put a smile on children's faces. And that took him out of his slump. That is a phenomenal way to get out of a slump.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. So yeah, that's awesome.
That's amazing. Good job. That's rad.
Okay, so I can't remember. Was that everybody? Yeah. So plans. What are your plans, Josh?
Yeah, so my plans are basically to finish the blue lines on this panel. And I'm hoping to finish the rough pencils for all of the page, but I will commit to the panel and then try for the whole page. This is just rough pencils, and I think the last panel isn't really super complicated, so it's doable. Yeah. Oh,
Cool.
and then finish the guitar for sure, and then maintain my workout would be good as well. So yeah.
Awesome. That's great. Scott, how about you?
Well, kind of the main things that have been on my list for a long time. I've got to work on my website, finish writing copy. I've still got some footage for the YouTube series I'm doing, the Making Comics 101 series. Yeah, I got to get back to doing my digital products. But before that, I just finish Inktober, get everything, get this video put together, and maybe look into seeing if I can come up with some kind of way to put this into a project. So yeah, that's the thing. You guys are talking about like working out and stuff like that. So there's also like that, and also I've also been doing some like just stuff around the house, working on just some small home improvement projects, and also I've got the work on the workout front. I have a what do you call that thing? It's I can't remember what the name of it is. It's the Bowflex. So I got this big Bowflex machine that I'm trying to that my dad gave me, but it didn't have one of the benches, and most of the workouts that I want to do require that bench. So I went out and got some wood and some foam and some like faux leather and stuff, and I'm going to try to build and upholster a bench for that. So I got all that stuff. So hopefully I'll do that too. But yeah.
Awesome.
Cool.
That's cool.
I'm going to keep working out. I'm going to get a 2-minute animation storyboard done. So I've got the assets approved for that. So I'm going to draw all the boards for that. And it's like for a client. And so it's like an actual storyboard rather than what I typically do for myself, which is kind of like loose. So it'll be pretty detailed. And then I'm going to finish this mouse illustration animation thing. And so he's going to push a button and cheese will come out. And then I'm trying to decide which way I want to go. There's one that's a little bit longer and it has some more meaning. And there's one that I can just knock out really fast, which I should probably do. But basically he'll push the button, get some cheese, push the button, get some cheese, push the button, get electrocuted, blink a couple times, and then push the button again and get some cheese and it restarts. That's one. The other one is there's going to be like a cage door behind him, and he pushes the button and gets cheese, and then he pushes the button and gets electrocuted. But while he's getting electrocuted, like the gate opens, like kind of slowly. Basically, the idea is like you can. It's easy to remain in a cage, but it's work to get out of the cage and kind of painful. But then you're free. So I'm trying to decide. The second one is a lot more complicated. The first one's easier and gets the point across. And this is kind of just a palate cleansing. So I'll probably just do the first one and just knock it out.
I have a random thought that might fuse the two.
Yeah.
You don't have to go with it. But you could have him push the button, get cheese, push the button, get cheese, push the button, get electrocuted. The second time, push the button, get cheese, get electrocuted, get electrocuted. The third round, get electrocuted, get electrocuted, get electrocuted, and then it's just him getting electrocuted. That might get the point across, like with the, because it's like the rewards just kind of diminish.
Right.
So, I don't know.
I also thought, and I don't know how I do this visually, but I also thought of doing a second mouse. This one I'm not going to do right now, but I could do it in the future. Doing a second mouse and having like alligator clips on a ladder, and so the camera would pull out and it would show where the cheese is coming from. And there's just a giant pile of cheese up there on the top of this ladder, but this mouse has to get electrocuted to go up the ladder to get it, and the other mouse just keeps pushing the button and getting like one at a time.
Like that. It's like War of Art type stuff.
Right. Yeah. You got to kind of fight the resistance to get the reward, and it's a bigger reward if you fight it. I'm overthinking it, and it's just a joke.
I'd stick with the joke for now, and
yeah, and that's kind of my plan. Is I'm going to stick with the joke, because the joke is really like just making fun of our educational system that trains students to act like lab rats that just they push the button and they get the cheese. That's
no
one thinks creatively. No one is trained to think creatively. Like it takes a lot of like deprogramming to get past the point where people realize that like grades don't matter and no one cares, in certain fields they do, and you need them to progress through the system that uses them as a measurement. But once you get out into industry, like you have to know how to do stuff and be easy to work with. Those are the two things that people care about. I've hired dozens of people. I've never known anyone's GPA or anything. I'm just like, can you do the job I need? And are you a jerk? Those are the two things I want to know.
I feel like maybe we can end on this topic, because we have gone a while on the art check, so maybe we can continue with that. But I feel like that kind of mentality, because I dealt with that too, teaching college, where, I mean, I learned a couple tricks. Like one is, when I get asked about a grade, this was one of my favorites, like, why didn't I get an A or whatever? And it was somebody who got like a B that was like a 90 or an 88%.
Right.
I would explain why they actually deserved a C.
Right.
And because when I grade, I never with grades was like downgrading someone. I was usually giving them a lot of benefit of the doubt and probably giving them too high of a grade. Yeah. And so when somebody would be complaining about like a C, most of the time that person, before complaining about it, had no idea that the night before, when I was looking at the work, I was really pushing up that grade so that they'd get a C. And so like, that's like a nice reality check when it comes to grades. But the other thing is like, one thing I noticed teaching, I tended to like the B students, and this isn't to like dismiss the A students, but I feel like this weird thing happened with upper level classes where the students who really like had to fight to get an A would suddenly get better, and the people who kind of just got A's suddenly started getting B's, because everybody was having the people in the middle kind of had to fight to get there, and they got used to the fight and to progressing and kind of doing the like being challenged and leveling up, being challenged, leveling up. Whereas I think the people who came in already pretty good got comfortable, and so they'd like not progress. And I think that's a real weird thing with the education system, where the worst case scenario with somebody who's just like A, that's all I need is A's. You could end up being a perfectionist, which in a workplace is toxic, man. And actually can be really problematic on a timeline. Because perfectionism can be the death of profit.
Yeah.
Because profit's about risk. I mean, you want to mitigate risk as much as possible, but if you like completely bulletproof a product, you're never going to have innovation, and you're never going to have like art that takes risks and succeeds.
Well, and I actually don't think it's possible.
Yeah.
I think that's that feedback loop.
Mm-hmm.
That false feedback loop of progress, where at a certain, Leonardo da Vinci said that art is never finished, it's abandoned.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's true of almost everything. Is you get it to, there's minimum viable product, right? Or what the British call fit for purpose. Okay. And there are some jobs where it's like, that's what you do, is this solves this problem on the level that it's expected.
Yeah.
And then there's other stuff where you go above and beyond, but no matter what you do, you have to get to a point where you're like, I know that there's more to do on this and that I can keep tweaking this, but like, this is what I can do right now with the resources that I have. And it's good. And I, in saying that, I'm hearing myself say that, and I don't want people to take it the wrong way. I think you should do good quality work, and I think you should work on it, right? And I don't think either of us are saying otherwise. But I have seen people work on the same thing for years and never ship anything and never deliver anything and never finish anything. And they're just like continuing to perfect this thing, and like Jake Parker says, like finish is better than perfect. There's a huge balance to be had. Like there is some correlation between your grades and the quality of work that you're doing. But if your focus is grades, you're gonna miss it, because like I remember when I was getting my master's, I got my master's from SCAD, and it was an online version of their program, and it was awesome. But like I would be working, and I remember I didn't have internet at the time just because of my living situation, and so I would be at my buddy's house, like 2 or 3 in the morning, like go stealing his Wi-Fi in his driveway. I'd drive over to his house to like submit things or whatever, and every once in a while he'd talk to me and be like, what was the assignment? And I'd tell him, and he's like, you finished the assignment like 3 days ago, and you've put like another like 12 to 15 hours into this thing since then. And I'm like, yeah, that was the assignment. I'm going to get an A. I'm now working to beat myself. Like I got so good, on the last one, and I want to pass that on this one. And I actually think that situation is the optimal situation. Getting A's and B's is way less important than like I had a huge leveling up moment with this project, or I had a huge improvement on how I do X because I put in the extra time to kind of do this thing, or I met with my professor extra, or I met with my mentor critique. It's like, and I tell some students, like, just so you know, anything you do past this point, like you've worked to the point of getting an A. And so if you're strapped for time, like you can shift projects, and some of them are like, oh, great. And the other ones are like, no, I really want to nail this. I'm like, great. That's awesome. And
I think that, I mean, that like my experience in grad school is like that too. And I knew a few people who were going to grad school and didn't last very long, who are very grade oriented. And the thing about grad school that I think could be brought more into like bachelor programs and stuff like that is like the idea of like really just exploring doing the best work you can do. And that's really like the purpose of grad school, at least when I went to Cal State Long Beach as grad school. But when you're working on your MFA there, it's like that's not really the time to like absorb, be a sponge. It's the time to like take all that you've learned and like try to make something great. And you can't really qualify great with a grade. And this is something as a teacher that frustrated me. I'd rather see a student fail like epically and fail trying so hard to do something impossible than like just go safe and boring. Safe and boring is like it there's just no place for that. And that's what I feel like. So I agree with you. Like the basing it on just a grade, it's good to be motivated by grades. If you need that carrot to do good work, great. But I do think it's kind of equivalent to like people in business who are only motivated by money and not quality or making great things. It's like if a paycheck is the carrot at the end of your stick, like that's the thing that drives you, you're probably not going to be great to work with, and you're probably not going to end up making a lot of money. And if you do, like, you're probably never going to be satisfied, and you're definitely, I don't think you're going to work with a lot of people who are satisfied with you. But if you base it on like, I want to make quality, like I want to make something really good, I want to please people. Like I want to please people, not like please people to where they go, hey, that's great, but like sincerely make somebody's day. Like those are good motivations, you know. But I do think, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I wish more students would wake up to the fact that like nobody cares what your degree is. They're never going to ask what your GPA is. If your portfolio is amazing, they aren't even going to care if you were on the dean's list or you graduated summa cum laude or summa cum whatever weird Latin phrase you're never going to use outside of college. Like, if you're going into politics, maybe that stuff matters. But like in art, like nobody cares. Like the first thing I look at, I just went through a hiring process. I'm an art director, and it's like the first thing I looked at was I very briefly scan resumes. The only thing I look at on resumes is like, have they worked at all? Like that's good to know. But the first thing I really look at on the resume is I'm just trying to find the link to their portfolio. And if there's no portfolio, I don't even look at the candidate because I'm like, if they don't show their work, like what are they hiding? Like, to me, they'd have a website URL. If they have a website URL, I'm going there. Hopefully it's not hard to punch in. And the first thing I'm looking at is this person good? And if they're not good, I don't care if they went to Harvard. I don't care. Yeah. I don't care if they got a great GPA. If all they have in their portfolio is student work, where it's like, and it's clearly student projects, like here's my mock-up of a poster for this film that every student who graduated at this school did, that's less interesting to me. But if the person's doing like their own voice, or even if they took those student projects and went that extra mile Corey's talking about, where it goes beyond the A to like just really exploring doing the best work you can, that kind of stuff speaks to me, and that person has a much better chance of getting hired. And I'm not alone on that, because like nobody's in an art director position who didn't do art, like at least the majority of the time.
Yeah.
Most of them did design, did their due diligence doing freelance and cutting their teeth on all that stuff. So like they're going to appreciate visuals, and they're going to know when you're hiding a hand or hiding a foot. Like they're going to know all the tricks because they've done them, right? So they're going to know bad type. Like if you don't know type and you don't know how to kern, like they're going to see that. They're going to go, oh, okay, you didn't kern those letters. That's okay. But the point being, like, just going that extra mile is like, that's your portfolio is going to speak, and it's going to say something about you when you get out of college more than your degree.
And your degree, I always say your degree is a ticket to an interview.
Yeah.
And your resume, especially in visual communication, anything in that field, your resume is something that can lose you a job, but it's not really something that can gain you a job. Mm-hmm. And so it's really your portfolio and your work. But like, if I look at, I oftentimes the resume and the cover letter and the degree are the thing that I have to go to HR with and justify my decision.
Yeah, that helps with HR.
Yeah, but my decision is based on two things: the interview, and if you feel like you're going to mesh with the mood of the team that I'm trying to build. Mm-hmm. Like, are you going to be a problem? Because I don't care how good you are. If you're going to be a problem, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
The other thing is, are you gonna get things in on time? Are you dependable? Can you finish things? Are you going to be a voice activated employee where I have to just kind of like tell you what to do all the time? Because I might as well just do it myself. It's way more time consuming to explain it than just do it.
And that sounds like the A student to me. It's like the yes man, and I don't hire yes men. And I would be worried if you're a yes man, and that's kind of your thing, is like, I just want the A so that I can move on to the next thing. That's such a turnoff in creative. Yeah. Because that means, like, for a manager, you're basically saying, I have to be micromanaged. I have to have everything spelt out for me. I need a perfect blueprint of my future. And in a creative field, that's next to impossible. You want people who are actually going to be like picking colors you wouldn't go for and making them work and selling them. Like
I
you
want
people-
to learn from the people that
Yes.
work for me. I love that situation.
Yeah.
I just hired a guy. I was part of the hiring committee that made a decision on a person who I had hired as a graphic designer like 7 to 9 years ago.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I said on the hiring committee is I said, I'll tell you guys all in the room that when I hired this person, I got better at graphic design because I watched what they did.
Yeah.
And it leveled me up.
Yep. And that's what you want. You don't want a stick in the mud who like that's the thing is like you really I don't know. Scott, do you feel like I don't know, do you feel like we're off and that like grades really matter?
No, it's kind of a weird thing. I just comparing myself to like I guess my kids. I mean, they're like super smart, always get straight A's, honor, honor, not honor, what do you call it? Honors classes, all that stuff. I was not like that at all. I mean, I was lucky if I could get C's. I just wasn't academically. I was not a good student. But I think it's more than that. So sometimes I worry when my kids, as smart as they are, sometimes I worry about their drive. I worry about, because there's just a lot more to that than just the great grades. So I mean, initiative, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think to like I would have to struggle to get good grades, and it's almost like they could just like sleep through everything and still, get it. So I mean, some of it has to do with that too. I mean, if it comes super easy to you, I don't know.
There are several researchers that have written books on grit, which is what sociologists and psychologists use as a term to encapsulate like all of the personality traits that help you stay motivated when things get hard.
Mm-hmm.
And almost all of them cite disabilities as an advantage. Like if you have some sort of learning disability or physical or mental or emotional disability, or if you think differently than the normative neurological process, everything is hard. So that like they cite like what? Dang it, I can't remember the name of it. What is it when the letters get mixed up?
Dyslexia.
Yeah, they cite dyslexia as a huge advantage later on in life, because if basic reading is difficult, then like you become so used to learning being a struggle that the struggle doesn't seem like a negative thing. The struggle seems like a normal thing.
Yeah. Whereas
a lot of students, like Josh is saying, a lot of students who they come up against things that are not hard ever. I had somebody in class today. We were talking about this project that we did where we're doing skeuomorphic design, a photorealistic illustration in Illustrator. And for a lot of these students, it's the hardest thing that they've ever done. And there was this girl who, like, she just won like a national award in her field. Like she's a very, very good student. And she said, "This is the first time in my life that I felt stupid." She said, "Usually I just kind of put in the work
situation.
and I do stuff." And I was like, awesome. Like, embrace that. I hope you really lean into that. And like, some people are like, "I feel like that all the time." And I'm like, good, that's good. And several other comments today kind of came through on this, where it was like, one thing about the last 2 weeks is I became comfortable with being uncomfortable and feeling incompetent.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, good. That's honestly this isn't any fun, but I tell people all the time, if you want to be comfortable, don't get into a creative field, because comfort equals death and stagnation.
Yep.
And if you can get used to that discomfort, that uncomfortableness, the struggle, the fight of that, the feeling like you have no idea what's going on, and having to problem solve and figure your way out of that, that's a great place to be. And the trial of no trials is a huge struggle, where if you only do things that you're good at and you never have to fight, then it's your reaction to something that is hard is going to be, I don't do math.
Yeah.
Or I don't do art, or I don't do whatever because it is hard, and I do things that are easy.
Yeah. And I'll bring in the stupid guitar thing from the top. Like I love things like that because I don't know electronics. I don't know wiring. I know how to noodle on the guitar, but I've never actually like dissected a guitar and seen how it works and put it back together again. I get a real kick out of like putting myself in a situation where I'm in the deep end of something I know nothing about, and that's a real advantage in the position of an art director, that a lot of like designers, juniors, and even seniors do not understand, about what qualities people look for somebody to do art direction. Because one of the things about it is you have to be super comfortable with being in a deep end with no life preserver where you have no idea how to swim. And that's 90% of the gig of being a creative director or an art director, is being thrown into situations you have no idea how to solve, being asked to do things and create things you have no idea how to do. One case in point, I had to do 3D rendering. I don't know 3D programs at all. Yeah. And so now I have to hire somebody to do 3D programs. I've never hired somebody to do 3D programs. Now, if you like, you have human problems that come up that you've never had to deal with in your life, and now you have to solve it. You have to be the solution. There's a lot of like weird just bouncing around and having to be kind of an expert at things you have no idea how to do. And the more comfortable you get with that, the more, like I was saying about even the struggle I've been having recently about like keeping calm and kind of carrying on, that's much easier. It's less of a struggle than it was like year one of being an art director. That was a huge struggle. But what's weird is, like Corey was saying, it's like what builds the grit is you have moments where the whole world seems like it's on fire, and you manage somehow to put that fire out. And then like from that experience, the next time you can always look back at it, like he was talking about with the photoreal project. Like that's a good project for students because that sounds like a bit of a test, by a trial by fire. And the second you get out of that fire, you're going to be able to look back at that and be like, well, yeah, but I did that.
Right.
You know, and was at a point where I had no idea how it was going to get done. Corey finished grad school. Like that's very much the same kind of thing. Grad school's like that. I think 3 months before finishing my thesis, I was like, I had a complete breakdown. I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I stepped into this. I've wasted a lot of money and time. I'm never going to get this done. And then you get it done. And it's weird because by overcoming that, like the next thing, whatever it is, like you can look back and go, well, I did finish grad school, you know, right?
Yeah.
Or, well, I did land that big client, like, you know, like Scott's in this on the daily. Like, you know, I think young designers and illustrators have no idea what it's like to freelance and have to like chase leads and get clients. And the thing that keeps you cool through that process is like, well, I've chased leads before. I've gotten clients before. I've done these things for these clients. So it's like you build grit by kind of getting in some fights. Mm-hmm. But if you just sit on the sideline and you don't throw a punch and you don't get any fights, you're going to just basically, you know, be a yes man who's underpaid and probably, I don't know. I think that's a hard life for a creative that's not willing to kind of get into the fray of the unknown. Because that's half the fun of creative, is that you jump into the unknown. Yeah. You know, like law is flexible, but it changes very slowly. So like, you know, if you're really good at like kind of staying by the rules and stuff like that, like go into law and like, you know, do legal work, paperwork for companies, you can make a lot more money. And
yeah, I mean, that's the thing is, I don't think I'm not being disparaging when I say that. I'm like, if law is a great example, if you like maybe not trial law, but if you really like following instructions, like go be a paralegal, go be a dental hygienist. Like there are some pretty clear ways to do things, and you do those things over and over and over again. And if that's what you like and you get satisfaction out of that, that's actually a really happy way to live.
Yeah.
But if you want to create, then you have to just embrace ambiguity and failure and being uncomfortable and not knowing what's going on. Because honestly, if there's a clear path to how to do that project, then it will be automated soon and they don't need you.
Exactly. And here's the thing too, is like, if you're looking for easy, why are you looking for art? Art is problem solving. And visual communication is literally like being a mathematician, but not just any mathematician. You're being the mathematician who's finding, the different formulas that don't exist yet to solve something. And so you're really having to think on a very high level of problem solving. If you're not comfortable with problem solving, like, keep in mind, like, the higher up you go too, like, the harder those problems get and the more ambiguous and less sure they get. Because I do think there's, like, on the art director front or even teaching or whatever, I think there's this perception from younger people, that it gets easier. And it gets easier, like, emotionally, but it doesn't necessarily get easier, like you get more spread thin. The spread doesn't, like, become more, your focus doesn't get more focused. Your focus gets more diversified and split all over the place. And so once again, like, if you want to move up in art, I think a really good skill is to get comfortable with discomfort and to start leaning into discomfort and even embracing, like, hugely weird things as they come up and trying to find the opportunity in those things. I know Corey and Scott can probably testify to that, but it's like, I've experienced that. Like, I find that a lot of the best opportunities I've had in art have come out of completely crazy fires that did not look like opportunities at the time, So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Anyhow, so yeah, don't just go for the A, go for the best. And if it's the best you can do right now, great. And if the best you can do right now is a C, good. Did you push yourself past your limit to get that C? Then great.
Absolutely.
I mean, this is all good advice, I think, but unfortunately, I don't know if the system necessarily works.
No.
Like that.
So here's,
in order, my kids, they've got great grades, and because of that, they're able to get some scholarships and things like that.
That's good.
So there are obviously there are benefits, but
absolutely, and that actually came up today in class. I'm famous at school for saying that grades don't matter, which is infuriating to students because they're like, "But you're giving us grades." This girl raised her hand and she said, "But what about?" Grades matter when like it costs me thousands of dollars, if I don't get a certain GPA or whatever. And I agree with that. And my answer to that is grades do matter, but they matter in a temporary and limited situation.
Yeah.
Whereas who you become and what you're able to accomplish is the long-term goal. And so grades, I actually see a lot of very talented students that work really hard on personal projects that don't graduate because they just don't do anything that they don't deem important. And so they bomb out of stuff. And that's not good. You're paying tuition. You're in school. You do need a high school degree. You do need a college degree. You do need to do these things. And unfortunately, you've got to jump through some hoops. And so it is kind of this balance, but that's actually why I think that like personal projects are more important than the schoolwork, because
100%.
Sometimes I think I'll tell students, like, listen, like, get your work done, get good grades, and then go above and beyond. Like, exceptional people are normal people who choose to do exceptional things. And one of the exceptional things that most exceptional people choose to do is stuff that they were not required to do. So I do think that you should, I'm glad you brought this up, Scott, because I do think that you should meet the requirements to get good grades, but then I think you should be exceptional and choose to do more than that and choose to get it above and beyond, because I think it's just as sad to see somebody who is really talented and has spent 5 semesters in an undergraduate program just be like, yeah, I got 3 more semesters, but I don't really care. I'm pretty good at this.
Yeah.
And then they just bail on it. It's like, dude, just show up for another year and a half, eat your vegetables, take your medicine, do the busy work that are in some dumb classes and whatever. Get that, because that will give you a leg up. And, if you get good enough, then there's scholarships and there's things like that. And so I don't want people to walk away from this thinking that I don't think grades are important. I just don't think they're important in the long term.
Yeah.
They're very short term and situationally important.
Yeah. And I mean, I can definitely say, like, I was a nerd, like a very like a studious nerd, and, was like, did state science fair in high school, and like did mock trial and AP classes and honors classes and stuff. And that never was a bad thing. Like, that never hurt my future. That actually helped. Having a graduate degree helps. Like, that definitely gave me a leg up looking for an art director position. Because, if I'm applying and I have an MFA and I'm applying against somebody who has an MA, I look better degree-wise. Yeah. I just do. If my school is reputed for graphic design and illustration, and I come from that school, and I'm applying against somebody who has a school with less of a high reputation, it does matter. But if my portfolio sucks, that all goes out the window. If my portfolio is all student work, that all goes out the window. So it can give you an advantage, but it's not the right advantage to focus on. Because, like, if you're making quality work, if you're going above and beyond, you're going to be getting the best grade you can get. And that's inevitable. But if you're just focused on grades, you might actually be selling yourself short. You might be doing the shortcut to get the A and miss the whole purpose of the thing. Because that the whole reason for grades is mainly for the people who get Fs, who earn it. Like, and I can say that, like, from teaching too. It's like, when I had students who got Fs, like, they had every opportunity. I would give them every chance, and they wanted that F. Like, they wanted it. They wanted so bad. I never had a student fail who was trying to do anything but fail. And that's, so I guess what I'm saying is, like, I can understand the conundrum of Corey's position, because Corey's dead on. Grades do matter, but they don't matter. And they can matter for your future, but they don't matter for your future, because as an artist, it's really what you're making visually that's going to speak. And so you have a better shot without a degree and a badass portfolio than you do with a degree and a mediocre portfolio. Yeah. That's just the reality of it. So you could have gone to Art Center, great school. I look twice if I get a candidate from Art Center. I also look twice if I get a candidate from my alma mater, because I'm biased, totally. But if I see somebody with no degree and an excellent portfolio, I will probably interview that person. And actually, it might be even more interesting to interview that person, because I'm like, oh, maybe there's better retention, right? So my point is, like, the art's what matters. Like, I have plenty of friends who have no degree and are way more skilled illustrators than I've ever been. And I have plenty of and have landed clients I could never get. So, yeah, but yeah, I mean, degree helps, right? Like, good grades help, but what's really going to speak is your portfolio.
Right. And for me, the degree, because I've worked at places that are very conservative, and I was the outlier as the creative. And sometimes in a lot of situations, I was not allowed to look at anybody who didn't have a certain type of degree. Yeah. I was just not in a position at certain jobs that I had to be able to say, I'm going to subvert, all of the policies in this company so that I can hire this person. They're like, no, you can find somebody who does equally good work that also meets all of the expectations that we have in HR. I'm like, okay. So sometimes it was really frustrating that I remember I wanted to hire this guy so bad, and he had been, I probably can't give too many things, but he had done some very impressive things and worked for like known people as a writer. He was a ghostwriter for like people that you would recognize their name, and like worked in DC and was a speechwriter for politicians and stuff like this. But he didn't have the right education. I wasn't allowed to hire him, and I was like, do you guys not see how much you're missing right here? I mean, he was so unqualified for the job that I would have normally looked past him, but his cover letter was written so expertly that I was like, I have to talk to this guy. That is the best cover letter I've ever read.
Yeah.
And I interviewed him, and I was like, I want to hire this guy so bad, but I wasn't allowed to because he didn't have a degree.
Oh, I should mention one thing though. If you are going for a degree, one of the things that is a very sure red flag that might cost you a job is having a bunch of college time and no degree.
Yeah.
So if you, like, let's say had 3 or 4 years at an art school and you didn't get a degree, because instantly that communicates.
That's me.
And like, once again, I think in the case of your stuff, your portfolio, your client list, once again, that's that thing I was talking about where that's going to do the speaking.
Yeah. I mean, I have certificates, but I don't have a degree.
Yeah, but
you're also not going for entry level jobs.
Yeah.
But there's a difference because
yeah,
Scott at 22 might have an issue with that, but Scott now has got a pedigree of places that he's worked that showcase that he can finish things.
Yeah, like his client list would bury any skepticism on that. But like if you're a green new illustrator or artist and I see like 4 years at a college, didn't finish, then I instantly am usually like, well, can I rely on that person? Because they didn't finish. So is that going to be what they do with jobs? And like Corey always talks about, it's risk mitigation. So that can really speak volumes. If you're a seasoned badass like Scott, then like I don't think anybody's going to even care about degrees. Like that does become that scenario where it's like, well, dude, like the guy like developed a very successful video game and like did most of the character art for it. Like, has worked for some pretty massive clients, has a really strong portfolio. I don't think I'd even look at the degree. So like, that's I think kind of perfect scenario of that.
Yeah. And now I'm going to be saying things that might get me in trouble, but if you don't, if you get a degree, I would try to do it with as little debt as possible because, and this is a whole other topic, but student loans can significantly limit your options. If you've got a dentist level debt and you're looking at jobs that are going to pay $25,000 out of the gate, you can't take that job because you can't afford it. And so there's some benefits to being really good without a degree because it probably also means that you're debt free and you don't have a bunch of debt. That means that you have to make 2 or 3 times as much as some things. Anyway.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Being one of the people heavily in student debt, like I have a cap. Like I have to make a certain amount, and if I don't make that amount, like I like there are some jobs that I would love to do that I literally can't. Like I just can't. And actually, that's something to keep in mind too about school. But we'll have to get into that some other time. But yeah, dude, if you can manage to make it an illustration and design without all that crippling debt, like please do.
We should do a show on that because I've got some suggestions.
I love it.
Yeah. Really quick, just self-servingly, because I'm pretty excited about this. I fixed 2 things that were bugging me, and now he's much more lifelike. So I'm pretty excited about where I ended up just in the last hour.
That's cool.
Yeah, so he fixed his ears and his head are moving more realistically now. So
I think that ties into the whole like diving into the uncomfortable, because everything you're showing right now is literally a skill you picked up in the last like year or two.
when did we do that project, Scott?
I don't know. When was that? How long
A
was
couple,
it?
2-3 months ago.
Yeah.
See,
yeah.
this is all within the last 3 months.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's completely just taking a risk and kind of trying out some plugins, and then just having a problem to solve and being really serious about it. And, you know, to me, like, I think that's a really kind of good proof in context of like how far you can get with just like a desire to achieve something and the ambition to like try out stuff and be uncomfortable for a bit to get there.
If you want to see how frustrating that process was, go watch my 100 days of animation, because that's when I was learning how to use this software, and there were several weeks of that process where I did the same thing wrong over and over and over again, you know, in different ways, and just failed constantly. And then at the end of that, I knew the software well enough to develop a college level course on it.
I love it.
So,
I don't know. So I think like maybe a good way to kind of wrap this up is just, you know, a really good thing to realize, whether student or seasoned illustrator or seasoned artist or whatever, is like take the veil off and realize like no one has a special ticket or a magic door that you don't have yourself. Like there's no secret trick. There's no there are people who've gained knowledge that can share it, and you can get knowledge from that. There's no genie in art that's just going to be like the person who, you know, hits you with like a wand and suddenly, oh, I'm a professional, or it gives you the certificate that then gets you the job. Like it is a process, and it's a process that like literally starts with, I have no idea what I'm doing. Yeah. And it goes from there to like learning what you're doing, and continues, because like, you know, and we're all cartoonists, and that's a big part of cartooning, is like you feel like you get a handle on it, and then you tackle like an angle of a building you've never drawn, and you're like, wow, maybe I don't know perspective. Like I felt like I knew perspective, but I've never done this angle. This is insane. Or you draw a hand funky again, and you're like, I thought I knew hands, but like that angle of hand is really weird. That's art. Art is embracing the thing you don't know and then trying to like just dive in and figure it out, you know? Yeah. So cool.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thanks everybody for jumping into the chat. That was great to see everybody jump out, even though we forgot to post it before we went live. And so, no,
I will own that.
I forgot as well. So yeah, if you want to check out Josh's stuff, go to joshuakemble.com. And you are working on the final page of this 5-year project, right?
Yeah, I am, and I'm pretty excited about it.
And you can read it now for free. It is completely free if you go to quarterlystories.com. So go to quarterlystories.com. That'll redirect you to where you can do it. And you can also check it out on your phone or iPad or tablet, and a mobile device if you'd like, at tapas.io, and then just look for Quarterly Stories. If you want to check out Scott's stuff, go to circworks.com. And if you are doing anything in and around comics, then you need to sign up for his email newsletter, because in doing so, you're going to get a bunch of tools. They're going to help you do that. He's got a whole pack that he should be charging for, but he is not, and it is awesome. It is also completely free, just for the price of your email. And if you want to level up from that, he's got a digital pack that's available that's got even more stuff in addition to that will help you make comics and make them fast and make them good. And you should go check out his stuff. And if you want to see my stuff, you can go to CoreyKerr.com. and I have nothing to sell you or give you.
I don't have to have Corey walk around with me and just pitch my stuff for me. That's good.
That was smooth.
Thanks. But yeah, I've got some stuff. If you go to CoreyKerr.com/tools, you will see you'll see some stuff that I've created that I use to help teach people how to animate. And so if you would like to learn how to do some of the stuff that you're seeing me do, you can download that for free. And there's also the availability there. If you want to pay for it, you can. I don't know why you would, because I'm getting away for free. But if you're like, this dude's awesome, I want to give him $2, go do that or whatever. Anyway, but you can just have it for free. No one's actually ever paid for it. But it's good stuff. So go check that out at CoreyKerr.com/tools. And as always, if you want to check out what we are doing on the show, and if you would like to stream like we stream, then you can click on the affiliate link at this link, CoreyKerr.com/48HR. If you would like to see the podcast version of the show, which hasn't been updated a little bit, we've got that there. Show notes, past shows, interviews, and things like that. You can go there. And we're back on schedule, and we'll see you guys on Wednesday.